This story happened in the village where I used to live many years ago. It was a poor village. The story was passed down orally a long time later, and I also heard it from my father. It was an overcast day. A couple was living in the village looking for their child. Both of them had been busy since morning to go to work, so they didn't have time to take care of the baby. The boy always played in front of the yard, but they still hadn't seen him until dinner time that day. They began searching everywhere from afternoon until late at night because they were worried about their children having bad things. The couple went to every house in the village to ask around. Even the neighbors who had a bad relationship with them, the couple asked, not leaving anyone out. But none of them had seen the boy. At this time, the sky was dark and the hearts of the couple were insecure. Their faces showed concern that their child was maybe in danger. They had lived here for a long time, and they believed that their child couldn't be kidnapped. The couple did not have time to think because there was not too much time left. The couple continued the search. In the village they had found most of them, so they decided to go to the edge of the forest to have a look. As soon past a house at the end of the village, the couple saw the elder man living there. He was disabled in both legs and was in a wheelchair. As soon as the older man saw the couple, he called them over and asked if they were looking for their son. It seemed he had seen the couple's son. As soon as hearing the news about their son, the couple was so overjoyed that they stopped and asked the older man more carefully. But contrary to their joy, what the older man said worried them even more. According to the older man's account, it seemed that the son was led by something. After hearing this, the couple became extremely afraid and their faces gradually turned green. Seeing the couple's panicked expressions, the older man also quickly recounted what he saw. Today, when it was just getting dark, the older man's gambling addict son pushed him to the front porch to enjoy the breeze and then left to play cards. But until evening his son did not return, so the older man continued to wait on the porch. The village road at this time was also gradually quiet and no longer a shadow of anyone. Suddenly, in that silent space, heavy footsteps sounded from nowhere. Because the road was very deserted and relatively narrow, the footsteps could be heard clearly, which caught the older man's attention. He quickly glanced in the direction of the sound when the shadow of a child appeared faintly in the mist. For some reason, the fog was so thick, it was more like they were surrounding the boy. Because it was dark, the older man couldn't see the child's face, but looking at his appearance and clothes, the older man knew that the child was the couple's son at the top of the village because the child often ran around the village to play. The older man asked, but the boy did not respond, continuing to walk slowly and heavily. The boy didn't look the same as usual. As a person who had lived for many years and had a lot of experience, the older man knew for sure that something was following him. The older man looked down at the boy's feet under the fog. His guess was not wrong. The boy walked, but his feet did not touch the ground. It looked like he was walking on the tip of his toes, looking very strange. But the older man remained calm and called the boy over to talk. After several times of trying to call out to the boy turned, looked at the older man with a scary look on his face. But that scared the older man even more because he knew the boy was no longer aware. The boy's eyes were wide, white, and his face was devoid of any emotion. He stared at the older man, his eyes growing larger and full of veins, his pupils almost disappearing, and his face pale. The older man understood that the boy was no longer a normal human being. Some force was controlling the boy. The older man tried to talk and ask questions to wake the boy, but to no avail. The boy still didn't care and kept walking. The older man felt so dangerous when he saw the boy slowly walk away from the village towards the forest. In the middle of the night, the older man tried his best to call to the boy, but couldn't. When the boy was almost out of the village, the older man saw that there was a figure following behind the boy. It was a man. But the terrible thing was that his clothes were rotten. He was barefoot, and one arm was bare, with only a white skeleton. After hearing the older man kept calling the boy back, the strange man turned and looked directly at the older man. At this point, the older man began to panic because of the strange man's sore face. The pupil of his eye had fallen out and was hanging from his face. His teeth were sharp like a wild animal. It was clear that he was not human. Seeing that the older man was about to call to the boy, he suddenly became angry and turned towards the older man. When he turned around, the older man could see his ulcerated body and only his white bones. It scared the older man so much he almost fell. But after scaring the older man into silence, the strange man continued to walk behind the boy's back and left the village. The older man couldn't walk, so he tried to shout for help, but no one heard. So he sat and waited for someone to pass by the house, and he finally met the couple. After hearing the story, the couple panicked because they couldn't believe their ears. However, the older man insisted that he was not mistaken or lying. The older man asked the couple to go to the forest to find their son. After hearing that, the husband asked the wife to go home to find a lamp to prepare to go to the forest to search. And they quickly ran to call more people to help. After that, the people in the village also gathered to help the couple find their child. They split into groups and rummaged through the forest. But the couple did not rest, but searched all night. But the result was still empty, without a trace of the son. The wife was very heartbroken. The couple could only hug each other and cry, but could not do anything more. They continued to search for another day, but still could not find anything. The next night, because of anxiety, the wife could not sleep. She cried all night because she was worried about her son. She then fell asleep without knowing it. In a reverie, she faintly heard a familiar voice. The voice was getting louder and clearer. It was her son's voice. She suddenly opened her eyes and woke up to see her son standing next to the bed, pale skin and a cold mouth. Seeing her child, she was overjoyed and burst into tears, quickly asking if her son was okay. The boy did not answer but turned his back to the door, still whimpering that he was so cold. Seeing that, the wife also rushed out of bed to run after her child. But the boy went very fast, still unable to keep up. The son was walking faster and faster, so fast that the wife had to run after him, but it was still too late. The shadow of the child was getting farther and further away. After chasing forever, the son led her to an old well. No matter how much his mother cried, the boy didn't care. He headed straight for the well and plunged down. The wife screamed in panic, but her body for some reason became extremely slow, unable to do anything. But the time she got there, her son had jumped into the well. She cried and called the son's name, but below was a deep and dark pit. Then the wife suddenly woke up. It was all just a nightmare. Seeing his wife screaming, the husband woke up and asked her what was going on, only to find his wife crying and sobbing. At this time, the wife also understood that her son was no longer alive. That dream was a foreshadowing. She told her husband the two people were heartbroken. No one said anything else. Then they calmed down and started taking hammers. They headed towards the deserted well. It was an old family well that had been sealed since their parents were alive. No one knew where the key was. But when they saw their child in the dream, they broke the lock and went to the well to check. Above the well's mouth, there was a large and heavy rock, which the son could not lift. In their hearts, they wished it was all just a nightmare. The husband began to bring down the rock that covered the mouth of the well. Both of them looked down at the bottom of the well to check, but all was not as they expected. At the bottom, indeed, was the body of the family's young son. Even though the couple was born in a dream and mentally prepared, they still could not accept this cruel truth. They didn't understand how the boy was able to go through the locked door, lift the big rock, and jump into the well like that. After that, people also helped them to bring up the body of their son. This story had been passed around a lot in my hometown, but there was no reasonable answer about the son's death.